Hello, 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 everybody in. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Wow. It is Monday, 9 p.m. And you guys see the moniker. You guys see the thumbnail, right? The thumbnail. So, Chud the Barber, a builder. I keep calling him the barber. Chud the Builder is out of jail. So some of y'all are celebrating like he just beat the case. He did not beat the case. The attempted murder charge is still there. The firearm charge is still there. The aggravated assault is still there. Reckless endangerment is still there. The case has been bound over for the grand jury. If that grand jury returns an indictment, this process continues. Surveillance video doesn't disappear because somebody posted bond. Witness statements don't disappear. The evidence prosecutors have already put before a courtroom does not disappear. Making bond is not validation or vindication. An ankle monitor is not a not guilty verdict. Walking out of jail does not erase the cameras recorded. My question was never whether Chud could come up with enough money. My question is why the system believes the public is adequately protected with him back on the street. And when I say the public, I specifically mean black people. And that's the part I need somebody to explain to me. Because I keep hearing this language about whether Chud is a danger to the public. His attorneys have argued that he isn't a danger to the public. Fine. But every time somebody says that, I have the same question. What public are you talking about? Because black public people are a part of the public too. You don't get to separate us out when you're deciding whether somebody presents a danger to the community. You don't get to look at somebody's behavior towards black people and somehow treat that as separate from his behavior towards the public. The black people go to restaurants. Black people go to courthouses. Black people walk down the street. Black people go to work too. Black people mind their own business too. We are members of the same public that these courts are supposedly considering when they decide whether somebody can safely be released. And that's why I don't understand how you evaluate this man without evaluating his history. Because his shooting of that veteran didn't happen in a vacuum. Before Chud even ended up accused of shooting Joshua Fox outside that courthouse, we already knew what kind of content he was making. We already knew about the racial confrontation. We already knew about the provocateur behavior. We already knew this man was willing to walk into public spaces, create conflict and people with people, and live stream those confrontations and do it all the while armed. That's not something I'm making up after the shooting because I don't like the man. That's his history, and the history matters to me. Now, does that history make him guilty of attempted murder? No. A jury gets to determine that fact, but I'm not sitting on his jury. I'm sitting right here asking why the justice system believes the risk associated with releasing this particular person can be adequately managed. Those are two completely different questions. You know why I asked that? You know why I have a question about it? Is because only somebody who would allow their feelings and their hatred for somebody else get them put behind bars. Only somebody that was mentally unhinged would allow this behavior to go as far as it went. And I don't need a guilty verdict to look at somebody's behavior and say, I don't trust your judgment. I don't think all your marbles are there. Because I don't. I think he done lost his marbles. And here's what this case really bothers me. There are a couple people, there are people who carry firearms because they genuinely believe they may need to protect themselves. They aren't looking for trouble. They don't want to use that weapon. They hope they never have to use that weapon. That's most people do. Most people carry a weapon because they hope they don't have to. But when you deliberately create confrontation content while you're armed, I think that's an entirely different conversation. Because now I want to know what exactly is your plan when somebody finally reacts to you. You're provoking people, filming people, getting in people's faces. You're making racial content and you're armed. What happens when you finally provoke somebody who doesn't respond the way you expect? You shot a veteran. You shot a man, I don't know how many times, 3 or 4 times. You shot a veteran, and you shot him before he got to you, before he touched you. you shot that man. See, this is not no hypothetical question. We now have an actual shooting outside a courthouse. And you know how unhinged I know he is? Because he was standing outside a courthouse where they have videotape, where they have tape they can run stuff back. And they can see when you shot. And according to the police officer, according to the bail bondsman, and according to the person that's in charge of security at the courthouse, whoever he was, said you shot your gun first. You shot at that veteran first. And this is where I seriously ask about your judgment. I'm not diagnosing this man as crazy. I think he's Looney Tune. I think you're unhinged. I don't know what a psychiatrist would say about you, though. I'm telling you what I think when I look at your behavior. I think something is profoundly wrong with his decision-making process that tells somebody it's a good idea to deliberately provoke strangers while carrying a deadly weapon. On top of the fact, you're not really comfortable with your sexuality because you're out here doing the transgender thing, and you dressing up as women, dealing with transgenders, having sex with transgender. I think you're mentally ill. I think you're mentally ill, Chud the Barber, because you're intentionally introducing volatile things into a situation while simultaneously possessing the means to turn that volatile situation into a deadly situation. That don't make sense to me. And that's why I keep coming back to the same question. Why should we trust your judgment? Why should we trust you ain't gonna do nothing goofy while you on bail? What happened during those months in jail that suddenly changed the behavior we're supposed to be concerned about? Did somebody rehabilitate you? Did somebody determine that you no longer want a confrontation with black people? Did somebody determine that he's no longer interested in provoking black people? Because if that happened, I'd certainly like to hear about it. Otherwise, what we're really being told is that we're going to have to manage his ass outside the jail and manage him with conditions. And conditions are not his character. Then we get courthouse shooting. Now let's talk about what actually brought that $1 million bond to this man in the first place. Because Chud the Barber supporters keep saying, self-defense, self-defense. That's what they keep saying. Self-defense.
Ether Lee is out of jail. A Montgomery County jailhouse employee confirmed this to us in a phone call this morning. Ether Lee has been in jail for more than 2 months. Back in May, he was charged with attempted murder after allegedly shooting a disabled veteran during a fight outside a Montgomery County courthouse in Clarksville. His bond was set at $1 million, where we're going to find out how exactly that bond was paid for.
Now, my question is this. How are you outside a courthouse? First of all, outside a courthouse, you have let your life spiral so far out of control that you would unload in front of a courthouse. Unload in front of a courthouse. You're out there in front of a courthouse, a court of law, provoking people so you could shoot somebody, and then you record it. Then you say before ahead of time that that's what you plan to do. Only mentally unstable people do shit like this. That's why Chud the Builder is mentally unstable. I believe he is. Okay, and he don't have no self-defense. There's no self-defense. He shot first. Okay, and proportionality comes into play. Okay, let's talk about that self-defense. Self-defense doesn't mean that whenever a fight breaks out, whoever has a gun gets to shoot the other person and automatically call it justified, and they don't get to stab people. Like y'all keep saying Carmelo Anthony, he didn't have no reason to shoot. He didn't have no reason to stab Austin Metcalf. Just like this goofy didn't have no reason to shoot nobody. Same thing. Same thing. Yeah. You ain't had no reason to shoot nobody. This is the same self-defense he's trying to pull, just like Carmelo Anthony said he was self-defending himself. This person said he's self-defending himself. No, that's not how that works, son. It's called proportionality. Just like it was proportionality with Carmelo Anthony, it's proportionality with you, goofy. You attempted to murder somebody. That's not how self-defense works. Just because somebody says something to you, you get to shoot them or kill them. The circumstances matter. The sequence matters. The threat matters. who escalates the confrontation matters. You're the person that shot the gun first, because the policeman testified to that on the videotape. They rewound the videotape back and they found that you were the one who shot first. And when somebody uses deadly force, whether that level of force was reasonably necessary under the circumstances becomes extremely important. That's why the surveillance video matters so much. According to those investigators, description of that video during the verbal confrontation, you turned into what they described as you turned and had a straight stance and reached into your pocket to get your firearm before the physical altercation. There were investigators that came on the stand and said that. Now stop right there, because that changes the conversation for me. I'm not telling you what verdict a jury should return. I'm not saying that. I'm telling you why I don't accept self-defense from Chud the Barber as some magical phrase that ends every other question. No, Chud the Barber, you're gonna be cooked. Your bird is cooked. If you're reaching towards a gun during what is still a verbal altercation, I want to know why. Why was you reaching for a gun? A lot of y'all was saying, well, why did Carmelo Anthony pull out a knife when they were having an argument? Same thing here. Why he pull out a gun? What threat existed at that exact moment that made you think you were in lethal danger? What did you believe was about to happen? And more importantly, who introduced deadly force into this competition? You did, goofy Chud the Builder, because proportionality is the key. If somebody punches you, that does not automatically mean every level of force you respond to is justified. There has to be a reason for believing you're facing imminent death or serious bodily injury before deadly force becomes justified. Same thing with Carmelo Anthony. Y'all said that he didn't need to pull out no knife. Chud the Barber, same thing. You did not need to pull out no gun. And you shot a veteran. Makes so bad. You shot a disabled veteran. That disabled veteran, you shot him at least 4 times. A disabled veteran. Deadly force was not necessary. That's what the criminal process is going to have to sort out. And that's why you walking out on jail don't impress me. That don't mean nothing. Because those questions are still sitting right in front of you, waiting for you when you go back to jail. And this is where I really have a problem with people pretending the racial component of the story is something everybody else invented. The prosecution didn't have to rely exclusively on somebody's interpretation of Chud. They had Chud, his content, his statements, his word. The last thing he said was, oh, we're going to have a dead chimp on the sidewalk and y'all black folk going to be mad when I walk away. That's premeditation, you goofy motherfucker. That's premeditation. That's what they're charging your goofy ass with. And you think you're going to walk away from attempted murder? You may walk away from that, but you're going to get some jail time behind something. You best believe you're going to get some jail time behind something. As if we've already discussed, material involving his prior statements about black people was played during the court proceeding. Your own words cooked your ass. Now think about that. When a defendant's own previous words become part of what prosecutors are putting before a court, I don't need somebody on social media to tell me what Chud Barber think. This ain't no freedom of speech case. This ain't got nothing to do with freedom of speech. You burnt up for attempted murder, bro. I can listen to exactly what he said. I can hear him on social media. Everybody can hear him on social media. And that's exactly why I believe black people have a particular reason to question this man's release. That's my opinion. I'm not telling you that a judge has ruled that Chud is a danger specifically to black people. I'm telling you I believe he is. And I'm telling you exactly why I believe it, because I think he's unhinged. Because only an unhinged human being would allow another race to get you put in jail, to get you on a murder charge, to get you in jail, so you call yourself defending yourself. Just dumb on all kinds of levels. Okay? If somebody repeatedly creates a racial confrontation involving black people, makes disturbing statements involving black people, carries a firearm while engaging in confrontational behavior with a black person, and then ultimately ends up accused of shooting a black man, I'm not going to pretend that his history has absolutely nothing to do with my assessment of that risk. You might reach a different conclusion. I don't give a fuck. That's your right. But don't tell me I'm supposed to ignore everything that happened before he shot that boy, that veteran, because context doesn't disappear just because it's inconvenient. And this brings me back to his release conditions, because apparently we're supposed to feel better because there are restrictions on his release. He has a GPS monitor that tells him what he's released from 9 a.m. He can get out the house from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. It cannot tell Chud how to behave when he gets off that curfew or gets out there in the world. A curfew can tell him what time he's supposed to be home. It doesn't control what he does at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. A firearm restriction can legally prohibit him from possessing a firearm. That's important. But none of those things answer my fundamental concern about his judgment. An ankle monitor does not install good judgment. That's my problem. You can monitor somebody's location, establish those boundaries, and establish conditions. You can threaten to revoke bond if those conditions are violated, of course. But none of that means that behavior that created the concern has actually changed. And somebody's going to say, well, TPP, he hasn't been convicted of anything yet. I know that. That's why we're talking about bond instead of sentencing. I'm not asking why he's not serving a prison sentence. I'm asking why the court believes the risks associated with this man with pretrial release can be adequately managed. Those are different questions. And when somebody's facing charges this serious, when there's surveillance evidence that says he did it, when there's a history of confrontational behavior, and when the court has already heard some of his own disturbing statements, I think asking that question is completely reasonable of me. And there's another reason I'm not comfortable saying simply give him conditions and let his ass out. This wasn't Chud's first legal problem. Just days before that goofy went to the courthouse shooting, he had been arrested in Nashville following another confrontation connected to his live stream behavior. Think about that timeline. This isn't something that happened 5 years ago. We're talking about days. This goofy was acting up in Tennessee before. Days before. You had one confrontation serious enough to result in arrest. Then days later, you're involved in another confrontation, a deadly shooting. Not a deadly shooting, but a shooting nonetheless. Except this time, everybody gets shot. This veteran gets shot. That sequence matters to me because I'm looking for evidence that somebody responds to consequences by changing their behavior. Where is this change? That's what I want somebody to show me. Because you have a legal incident involved with confrontational behavior, and then within days, you're involved in another more serious confrontation that ends in gunfire. I don't look at that and say, well, clearly this person learned their lesson. I see escalation of their behavior. That's my interpretation of his behavior. And that's why I'm skeptical when somebody tells me everything is going to be okay because now there are rules attached to his freedom. There were rules attached to his freedom before. There were consequences before. There was an arrest before. And somehow we still ended up outside a courthouse with somebody bleeding from gunshot wounds from this goofy ass motherfucker. So excuse me if an ankle monitor don't suddenly make me comfortable. And here's something else. He managed to satisfy the bond requirement, which is crazy as hell. Fine. But the ability to make bond tells me something about resources. It doesn't tell me anything about risk. Those are completely different things. You notice we ain't heard shit from Chud the Barber. Let his ass poke his head out from that house and say something crazy. His bond gonna be revoked. His bond gonna be revoked. A person doesn't become less dangerous simply because somebody found enough money or enough bonding companies to secure his release. Money answers the financial requirement imposed by the court. It doesn't answer the behavior question. That's why I keep asking what changed. Because if nothing about the underlying risk assessment changed, and the only thing that changed was his ability to satisfy the financial conditions, then say that. Don't turn release into some declaration that everybody was wrong about the seriousness of this case. Ain't nobody wrong about the seriousness of this case. This case is serious as hell. And 9 times out of 10, he probably will be going to jail for this case. And remember, people, there's a difference between jail and prison. I said he might do some jail time, not prison time. He might do jail time. I don't even know whether he might just go straight from court to prison. That's why the bond was so high in the first place, because you're a danger or a menace to society, and that's why these charges are still hanging over his head. Don't you think there's something mentally unstable about this goofy? He has a trans boyfriend, or he had a trans girlfriend, or I don't even know what it was. It was a trans something. trans girl, trans boy, I don't even know, that he was having sex with. Trans whatever. And he was out here talking about nigga. Don't you think there's some mentally unstable shit going on there? There's some mentally unhinged shit going on there. And that's why these charges are still hanging over his head. Because he's mentally unstable and they know the seriousness of these charges. And this is where some people celebrating his release need to calm the fuck down. Because Chud has not reached the end of this case. He's reached another stage of this case. The grand jury process matters. If an indictment comes down, he's going to have to defend himself against whatever charges are ultimately returned. And then the prosecution gets to present the case. Y'all don't understand. This man shot a veteran, a disabled veteran, a handicapped veteran, overpowered Chud, had Chud spooked so badly that Chud pulled out a gun. A disabled veteran had Chud spooked so bad that he pulled out a gun on a disabled veteran. They're going to fry your white ass, boy. And then the prosecution gets to present their case. Soon as the grand jury comes back, the defense gets to present their case. The evidence gets tested. The surveillance gets examined. The witness gets challenged. Self-defense argument gets examined. The sequence of events gets examined. And depending upon what evidence the judge ultimately allows at the trial, Chud's own previous statements may become part of that fight too. That's when we're going to find out what this case really looks like. Not when somebody walks through the jailhouse door just because he got released don't mean jack shit. And let me tell you something. If he violates those bond conditions, he say anything to one black person, he say anything out of pocket, he try to skip out on a dinner, he try to talk crazy to anybody, he might be creating a whole entirely new problem for himself. So if I were one of these people celebrating that Chud just won the Super Bowl, like he won the Super Bowl, you still under lock and key, dummy. You just walking outside. He's just walking outside. He's still under lock and key. And they could snatch his ass back in there when they feel that he gonna act up. I wouldn't spike the football quite yet because this game ain't nowhere near over. It hasn't even reached the part that matters the most. And after everything we talked about, I'm right back where I started with this man. Why should the public feel comfortable with this Chud the Builder? And more specifically, why should black people feel comfortable with this? Because I'm not forgetting the content. I'm not forgetting the provocations that he did. I'm not forgetting his own words. I'm not forgetting what prosecutors say that surveillance video showed. That surveillance video shows that Chud the Barber pulled out a gun and shot a disabled veteran in front of a courthouse. Disrespectful all the way down the board. In front of the courthouse. A disabled veteran. Disrespectful all the way. You be lucky if they don't fry your ass. I'm not forgetting about none of that. I'm not forgetting about the incident that happened previously. Him walking out on that bill that he had. I'm certainly not pretending that posting bond somehow wipes his slate clean. No, it don't. He just walking around. They're going to jank your chain. They're going to yank your chain, buddy. It don't make your record clear. Maybe Chud follows every condition perfectly. Maybe he don't do jack shit. I bet you we ain't heard from Chud. I bet you Chud won't stick his head out there talking about nigga no more. I bet you he won't. Because he understand what he facing. You better keep your nose clean, bro. Because if you come out there talking 2-point crazy with anybody, you're going to be under the jail and you're going to stay there till your trial is done. And then you might spend the rest of not rest of your life. It ain't a rest of your life sentence. They might knock that attempted murder down, but you're going to spend some time in that jail, bro. You're going to spend some more time behind bars, bro. You better get used to that. Maybe he does stay out of trouble. Maybe he never has another confrontation. If that's what happens, wonderful. But I'm talking about what the justice system knew when it allowed him to walk out that door. And based upon the behavior we've already seen, you can't trust him not to act up because this person allowed the hatred of another race to put his life in jeopardy, his freedom in jeopardy, losing his child, losing his son, losing his family. This goofy white boy allowed his hatred of black people to put his ass in a precarious situation where he could go to jail for life. Just dumb. On a whole nother level. You let race put you in jail? You talking 2-point crazy about race, and then you let another race put you in jail? Let you lose your child, your son? No, you goofy on a whole nother level, and you're mentally unstable. I believe that. But that's my opinion. I believe his reckless behavior has demonstrated that he's a menace to everybody. I believe his history of racial confrontation gives black people a legitimate reason to be concerned about him. And yes, I believe he presents a danger, clear and present danger to black people. That's my opinion. I don't care what your opinion is. You don't have to agree with it. But don't tell me black people aren't part of the equation when somebody starts talking about whether this man is a danger to the public. This man is unhinged. We are the public. And if you're going to tell me the public is adequately protected, you're a liar. Then somebody needs to explain exactly what changed. Because the ankle monitor didn't change him. The curfew didn't change him. The bond money didn't change him. Those things changed the conditions under which he's allowed to be free, to be a free man. Now, how free do you feel, dumb Chud the Builder? How free do you feel? That didn't erase the behavior that got us here. And Chud's supporters need to remember one last thing. He made bond. He didn't beat the case. And 9 times out of 10, he ain't finna beat those 5 charges that he got. He ain't finna beat them all. They got him on tape saying goofy shit. They got him on film doing goofy shit. So no, whoever put the bond up, good for you. You probably get your bond money back, but that's as good as it's gonna get because he's gonna do some time in jail. I would have sat down in the jail. I would have sat my ass down and tried to burn off some of that time. That's what I would have did. I would have just, knowing my bail was too high, I would have sat down in the jail and then had them burn off some time. Well, it's time served, Your Honor. He been in jail for a year. It's time served. No, this goofy want to get out. And now he still got to go back because he ain't finna beat all 5 charges. It just ain't going to happen. Because they got him on tape. And they ain't playing with him. He disrespected the courthouse. He disrespected a veteran in front of the courthouse. And he pulled out the gun. He pulled out the gun. Nobody else pulled out the gun but him. He pulled out the gun first, according to the investigators. You shot first, goofy, Chud the Builder, goofy. So you deserve whatever you get. It is what it is. If you guys like my content, please put a like and a share and a subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Let me hear the comments in the chat. Hello, TCW, Richard Muirheads. Right. Not a barber. No, why black people surprised about injustice? I'm not surprised about anything. Nothing surprised me. I'm 60 years old. Don't nothing surprise me. Just more and more lives on here. Just more and more lives on here just being racist. We just racist as fucked over here. Just dumb. On a whole nother level. Richie Rich 8880. We just racist. Can you demand mental evaluation? Yeah, they can demand that he get a mental evaluation. They can demand that if he can help his case. If he can help his case, that he can demand it. Okay. Here's the guy. I told y'all need to get this name right here. Y'all need to get this goofy person's name right here and run his background. Because he's one of these Chud the Barber types. He's a Chud the Barber type. Okay. Facts. Night Snow, the super trucker. Hey, Night Snow, the super trucker. Okay. That's crazy. Democrats are retarded. Democrats are retarded donkeys. What does that have to do with Black Wolf? What does that have to do with this story? I don't understand. Y'all need to stay on topic. Jackasses. Anyway, hello you. How are you? You just came in right when I was getting done. You came in right when I was getting done. What? Democrats are retarded. You're wild. That's just wild, my friend. That's just wild. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the content. I do. Please hit the like and the subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Throw us into the algorithm. get us going. Haha, my time. Yeah, I just got done. I was gonna do it at 10 o'clock, but I was like, I'm wide awake and I'm doing things and I'm getting stuff ready, doing some things. So, but please, Chud the Barber is out on bail. We haven't heard anything from Chud the Builder. Maybe he'll come out and do a press conference. We don't know. We don't know what Chud is going to do. We don't know what's going on with Chud, but I do know they ain't playing with him, and he has some serious charges. He might beat one or two of those charges, but I don't think he's gonna beat all of those charges. And then people just got him out of jail. What for? What? I would have sat down. And did some time. I burnt off some time, but that's just me. People just don't. You don't get it if you ain't been there. I ain't never been to jail. I mean, I ain't never been to jail, but it's that's what I would have did. I wouldn't have got out of jail, especially if I know I didn't have the money and I wanted to burn off some time. But it is what it is. He needs to say goodbye to all those families and friends because they're going to try to put his ass behind the prison. They definitely going to do that. And then he really, really, really going to have to face a whole bunch of issues when he goes to prison or jail. I think it'll be jail, but you never know. If it's 366 days more, if they sentence him to 366 days, he'll go to prison. If they sentence him to 365 days or less, he'll be in jail. Two different things, but it is what it is. And I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate all of you guys showing up. I appreciate you. Please hit the like and the sub. I appreciate you guys. And I will see you tomorrow in the next one. I appreciate it. I do.